I still remember the first time Dominic Brooks stepped into Willow Creek Academy, his heart thrumming against his chest as though to remind him he was alive and fully aware of the challenge ahead. He had arrived 5 minutes before the bell, choosing that precise moment because it let him see patterns, students flowing like currents down each hallway, the way corners of the trophy cases caught the morning light, and, in the cafeteria, a small circle of 5 boys whose reputations preceded them like storm clouds. Cameron Sinclair towered over the group, arms draped around Levi Carter, Omar Hayes, Brian Reed, and Jordan Price. They were the unspoken rulers of this school, masters of fear and ritual, convinced that Dominic, the new scholarship student, would be an easy target. Dominic set his tray on a table exactly 1.2 meters from their circle, glanced around for witnesses, 82 high schoolers milling about, and opened Langston Hughes's collected poems as though nothing mattered more than the next stanza. In reality, every second was a calculation. The angle of the soda Ken Levi held, tilted to spill, the expected spray radius of 52 square centimeters, the 2.5-second silence that would follow the initial shock. Sure enough, at 8:02 a.m., Levi's hand trembled the moment he tipped the can. Brown liquid arced across Dominic's book and uniform, droplets splattering with a soft hiss. Most students would have gasped. Dominic paused for exactly 2.4 seconds, long enough for the cafeteria noise to dip by an estimated 18 decibels around him. Then calmly closed his book, set it aside, and retrieved a spare shirt from his bag. He gave a brief nod to the room as he walked to the restroom, clean and deliberate, signaling that this wasn't a moment for shame or anger, but for control. When he returned at 8:07 a.m., his blazer straight and his expression unruffled, the 5 stared at him in stunned disbelief. Cameron's smirk wavered for 1.3 seconds before vanishing. Dominic settled back at his table and began reading again, the hush in his wake more powerful than any shout. In plain terms, Dominic spent 45 seconds from the first drop of soda to his silent reclamation of space. During that interval, he shifted the social equation, from a 5-to-1 power imbalance to a cafeteria audience of more than 100 students suddenly questioning who held real authority. 10 students on nearby tables laughed softly, not at Dominic, but at the audacity of upending an age-old ritual. Dominic didn't need to call out Cameron by name. The numbers did it for him. Watching that scene unfold reminded me how often we mistake volume for strength. Dominic's true power lay in his emotional equilibrium and willingness to use simple facts. This prank has a 100% repeat rate to dismantle a spectacle built on fear. That 2.4-second pause was a masterstroke, proving that sometimes the most potent reaction is no reaction at all. By the time the bell rang for advanced calculus, Dominic had already taught Willow Creek a lesson. Respect is earned by composure and strategy, not by brute force. I left Chapter 1 feeling inspired and challenged. For an audience in their 40s and 50s, it's a reminder that life's most meaningful victories often come quietly, in moments when we choose our response with intention. I'm eager to see how Dominic's subtle calculations will guide him through the next chapters, and how those who once ruled by intimidation will adapt when faced with unwavering calm. In the moments after lunch, Dominic slipped into Mr. Peterson's advanced calculus room, where 27 other students sat clustered in neat rows. By 1:03 p.m., exactly 1 minute after the bell, Mr. Peterson had already outlined a problem he proudly called College-Level Challenge Number 12. The whiteboard was dense with integrals, but Dominic studied it for just 37 seconds, half the average time Mr. Peterson allotted his own undergraduates, before rising to the board. His marker strokes were deliberate. He applied a substitution rule in 3 steps, each taking 12 to 15 seconds, and arrived at the simplified solution in precisely 2 minutes and 14 seconds. When he capped the marker, the room was silent for 4.8 seconds, long enough for Mr. Peterson's usual 2-second blink of surprise to stretch into genuine curiosity. Remarkable shortcut, the teacher admitted, his tone stripped of doubt. 37 pairs of eyes turned toward Dominic, and for the first time that day, every one of his classmates regarded him not as a target, but as a peer with real expertise. As Dominic returned to his seat, he found a folded slip on his desk in Kara Williams's neat script. Meet me by the East Wing mural after classes. Urgent. He tucked the note into his notebook and focused on the next 45 minutes of lectures. Pattern recognition, he thought. Whether in integrals or social dynamics, it all came down to seeing beyond the obvious. By 2:30 p.m. on the other side of campus, Dominic entered the cafeteria again for a quick snack before history class. He counted the clusters, athletes at 5 tables by the windows, the artsy group huddled in the corner, the robotics club near the wall outlets, and a handful of scattered students in between, a total of 20 distinct social pockets. He chose a solitary seat equidistant, 1.7 meters, from the nearest group, fishing a granola bar from his backpack. No sooner had he unwrapped it than Logan Mitchell lifted his phone for a picture. Dominic noted the shutter click, a soft 0.2-second sound, and kept eating without flinching. When the image hit social chat 20 seconds later, with the caption, "Snack time for the outsider," Dominic's lack of reaction prompted 7 friends clustered by the window to roll their eyes and look away. The expected power of mockery faded because he denied it any purchase. History class that afternoon with Mr. Lawson was next. Mr. Lawson, a man infamous for correcting even the slightest vernacular slip, interrupted Dominic 3 times, at 2:47, 2:52, and 2:57 p.m., each time to admonish him about diverse linguistic choices. Dominic simply nodded, acknowledging each correction with the scripted response he'd practiced. "Thank you for pointing that out, sir. I'll be mindful." By the 3rd interruption, the class had shifted from impatient to sympathetic. 6 students, it seemed, were quietly impressed by his poise under scrutiny. The real test came in debate club at 3:15 p.m. Trent Davis, son of the mayor and the unofficial captain of this group of 5, launched into a rehearsed speech about his father's economic achievements. "Under his leadership, we've seen a 12% increase in new businesses," Trent declared, voice echoing off the gymnasium walls. When it was Dominic's turn, he spoke calmly. "However, the latest census data shows a 17% rise in income inequality, with the bottom quartile experiencing a net wage decline." He cited the Bureau of Labor Statistics report and even referenced page 42, causing a hush that lasted 6.2 seconds, twice as long as the club's usual applause gap. Trent's practiced smile cracked and the room buzzed with a new tension. Facts had trumped rhetoric. By the time school ended at 4 p.m., Dominic had accumulated 3 small victories: calculus, social calm, and debate, that chipped away at the 5's facade. Kara met him by the East Wing mural as promised. Her eyes were wide with urgency. "I've mapped the hidden surveillance points in the corridors," she whispered, passing him a sheet with 8 camera icons marked in red. "We need this data if we're going to level the playing field." Watching Dominic absorb her information, I'm struck by how methodical calm can outmaneuver both brute force and expectation. He never raised his voice, yet he shifted the balance of power in 3 distinct arenas. In seconds, he rewrote social codes using nothing but timing, data, and unflappable composure. Chapter 2 ends on a note of calculated anticipation. Dominic has proven he can match the 5 in academic and social arenas, but their next move is bound to be darker, more cunning. I'm left reflecting on how, in our own lives, small strategic advances, rooted in observation and precision, can topple seemingly insurmountable obstacles. I can't wait to see how Dominic leverages Kara's surveillance mapping in Chapter 3, and whether the 5 will escalate their tactics now that their rituals have been exposed. Introduction. Now that Dominic and Kara have gathered the surveillance map and seen the hidden cameras that watched every corridor, they stand at the verge of turning the tables once and for all. In Chapter 3, alliances form, secrets spill, and the ripple of justice transforms fear into collective courage, culminating in an ending that will leave you thrilled, moved, and undeniably hopeful. Chapter 3. By 7:45 p.m., Dominic, Kara, and a handful of trusted classmates huddled beneath the East Wing mural, flash drives in hand and hearts pounding with purpose. The corridors above were quiet, every student long gone, but the hidden cameras remained active, feeding live footage back to the 5 who once feared no one. Tonight, however, the hunters would become the hunted. Using Kara's map, they made swift, silent passes through 7 camera blind spots, planting the drives into the network switches. Within minutes, the entire security feed looped back the incriminating clips stored on those drives. Levi's prank rackets, Brian's film taunts, Omar's exclusion logs, Jordan's mockery sessions, and Cameron's own confession about staging humiliation rituals year after year. At exactly 8:03 p.m., Dominic tapped his phone 3 times to trigger the upload. The system hummed. In the principal's office, screens flickered to life, playing 24 hours of unfiltered footage on every monitor. Bullies in the act, teachers ignoring pleas, students shrinking in shame. The school's emergency alert tone pierced the night as doors downstairs unlocked and lights blazed through the halls. Security guards, now stunned witnesses, rushed in to find Dominic and his allies calmly standing amid the screens. Within 20 minutes, the news had spread beyond campus. Parents stormed the front gates, demanding accountability. Local reporters arrived, capturing Cameron Sinclair emerging in handcuffs, his face drained of arrogance. The 5 slunk into separate meetings with the dean, each meeting ending with suspension notices, mandatory counseling, and community service assignments that would publicly dismantle their reputations. In the impromptu town hall that followed, packed with tearful students, relieved parents, and steadfast teachers, Dominic stood beside Kara. He spoke softly but clearly. "We didn't break the rules, we exposed their abuse. Fear thrives in silence. Tonight, we chose to speak." A swell of applause rose, filling every corner of the auditorium. Tears glistened on cheeks that had once averted their eyes in the cafeteria. Cheers echoed for the boy who had refused to bow. Conclusion and personal impressions. Watching the guilty come undone and seeing an entire community rally around truth left me brimming with both righteous anger at how deeply the cruelty ran and profound joy at how courage can shatter the darkest systems. You can almost feel love wash over the audience in that moment of collective relief when fear gives way to unity. That electric mix of outrage and hope lingers long after the final frame. I'm left believing that when ordinary people stand together, injustice doesn't stand a chance. And that's a feeling powerful enough to change any school, any town, any world.